Hey everybody, this is Joel Toppin here, and I've just gotten back from Consum World Expo 2012. Picked up a couple games from Victory Point Games this year, one of which was Swing States, and I posted a video for that already. This is the second game I picked up, and this one has a little controversy associated with it, so I thought I'd spend a little bit more time on this particular video. This is the game AD 30. It's a solitaire game design, and it centers around the life of Jesus. For that reason, I've nicknamed it the Jesus Game. It's a solitaire game design. It comes with a deck of 25 cards. It is a gold banner design, which means it has a nice standard size cards that will fit in any standard card sleeve, as you can see here. They're very shuffleable with or without card sleeves. Comes with a counter sheet full of very thick, nice Euro quality counters. Here's the Jesus counter. Sounds kind of odd, but yeah, there you go. Pontius Pilate. So there's large rounded counters for the main leaders in the game, and then you have the 12 apostles. Here's Simon, for example, and they all have different functions in the game. The rule book right here weighs in at about 12 pages. It's not a terribly complex game. It's very approachable, very playable, very teachable. Also comes with a map. So let's just fold this out so you can see it here. Basically, as you see here, it is the life of Jesus. He begins here at the River Jordan, and it progresses through the gospel narrative, and your goal is basically to live out his life and have happen what did happen. Now here's where the game gets some controversy. Can you make a game about something that many people hold with the utmost reverence and take very, very seriously? That's a difficult thing to assess without really looking at the game itself. And that's why I picked it up. Many of you may not know, but my real life job is that I am a minister with the Assemblies of God. And I've been an associate pastor for my church for the last 12 years. And so, this is something I know quite a bit about, and it was something that I did initially have some valid concerns with. Is this sacrilegious? You see, to a person of faith who really takes the gospel seriously, who takes the Bible seriously, the idea that Jesus could fail is basically sacrilegious, blasphemous. It's just not, it's something that's unthinkable. So, how do you make a game about something like that without getting into that particular aspect is a difficult thing. Well, I picked the game up, I read through the rules, and got a chance to play it about 4 times down at Consum World. And basically, this is my conclusion. Essentially, as I said before, the goal of the game is to have happen what did happen. And what I found was the game was very engaging. It handled the topic in a very reverent manner. It doesn't make light of any kind of failure, possible failure on the part of Jesus to accomplish his mission. And basically the goal of the game is to get Jesus to Jerusalem, have the 12 apostles assembled there, be betrayed by Judas, arrested and crucified, so that the end result that did in fact happen would in fact happen. And there are other paths to victory in the game, but they are minor victory conditions. For example, it is possible to technically win the game without having been crucified, etc. Those are some things that as a Christian, that's just not realistic. But there are some very, very useful principles in here that I think could be used even in a Sunday school or teaching environment. For example, one of the key things in the game is you have to keep Jesus' piety level very high. And so you have a track here. If it falls to 0, you lose the game. And so there are a number of ways that you can lose the game. First of all, if Judas shows up See, you recruit the apostles randomly. You draw them out of a pool. Whenever you successfully recruit an apostle, you draw them out of a cup, and you look at the apostle. And if it's one of the 11, they go in here. If it is Judas, he comes on this track, and eventually he's going to start sliding to the right. And if he ends up in the 6th box, then the game ends and victory is assessed at that point. And if you haven't accomplished enough of your tasks, then you lose the game. Similarly, there are leaders. For example, our good friend Pilate here. He starts way up here, and he will begin to slide down. It's kind of like the States of Siege series. He's going to start to slide down. To move him up, you have to dice against his number there. Rolling higher than that will push him backwards, back up toward the top. If he ends up in here, the game will end at that turn if you don't push him out of there, and victory or defeat will at that point be assessed. So that's the several different ways you can lose the game. Now, back to the piety track. In order for Jesus to accomplish his tasks, you have to dice against his strength here. Now, his strength is at a level 4, which means you need to roll 5 or 6 to successfully recruit apostle or do various different things with him. And so as your piety falls down, if it falls below 5, then he's a rating 4. But if it gets to 5 or 6, he's a rating 3, which means you have a much better chance of success in your various endeavors. So this is actually a useful teaching point that this particular action that pushes Jesus up on this track is the action called prayer, or to pray. And the actions you can do are listed up here. So you can wander, you can pray, you can reduce the threat of a leader. You can send an apostle. The apostles kind of work like the provinces do in Levée en Masse, because they have the opportunity to block the progression of leaders on here. So sending the apostles out isn't exactly what they historically did, but in the game sense, it actually does work. And the notion of sending them out is actually an important concept in Christian teaching. So there are some various important Christian teachings that can be used here. The game also does a very good job of illustrating just how improbable Jesus' victory was. To accomplish what he accomplished was very, very difficult. And the game does a very good job of illustrating that, and I think it's very commendable on that particular front. And that is the part I think that really should be emphasized if that you want to use this in a Sunday school type environment. Lastly, you can really teach the life of Jesus from the game. The cards begin with, let me see if I can find them here, the baptism of Jesus. The deck is going to be stacked with the baptism on front and entry into Jerusalem on the bottom. And then the rest of this is all going to be shuffled up and mixed up. How the cards work is at the top, you have sundry different leaders that are going to be progressed along their tracks towards arrest or betrayal. So this one shows Herod and Caiaphas, the high priest. And these will be advanced along the tracks that you see over here on the board. So you have Caiaphas' track. He'll be moving down because of this card. They're kind of like the enemy armies in the States of Siege series. The 3 actions, those are the 3 actions you can undertake, and what you can do depends on where Jesus is. He can do any of these anywhere. River Jordan, he has the best opportunity to grab us to recruit apostles. Galilee and Bethany, he can teach, which also recruits apostles. Performing miracles really enhances your ability to block the progression of these leaders here. And that's done through a very clever mechanic that takes place up here. It's almost like the game of memory that you used to play as kids. And it sounds simplistic, but it works really slick in this particular game. Last thing on the card is if it has a sandal, it progresses Jesus involuntarily this direction toward Jerusalem on the map. So one of the things that you have to do, if you find yourself in a place where you're not able to do what you want to do, then you have to choose the wander action here, and that will push Jesus backwards on the track, back against the arrows. So that's a way that you can get backwards to a place where you can accomplish a particular task. All of this creates very interesting tension in the game, and then along with the cards, there is a scriptural note down here from one of the Gospels where this particular card has its theme. So, for example, this card here, it basically focuses on Jesus being baptized in the River Jordan. There's a passage from Mark chapter 1. and so forth. So all these cards have a scripture verse at the bottom, which explain the card in its context. Some of the cards will say temptation on it. What that does, if you are in the desert, it automatically pushes you towards the 0 part. If you're not in the desert, then you have to dice against the level of piety, and that can also push Jesus' piety level towards 0. So you have to constantly keep praying to get him back up so he can properly teach and perform miracles and do all the other things that he needs to do. And all this creates a 6 holes and 5 fingers scenario for the player. It is a very engaging game. It is surprisingly a very, very deep gaming experience. It's actually, I think, more engaging than many of the States of Siege games that I played. So, end result, I give this one 2 thumbs up. Again, it helps to understand some of the context in here. And so if you want to use this in a Sunday school environment, I think it definitely could be done that, but you'd want to use a little bit of caution with some of the elements to the game. So with all that said, I think this is a fantastic title from Victory Point Games, and I highly recommend it.